an incredible career. This is an incredible honour. You're a pioneer of women's footy. You're an iconic Bulldogs champion. But I think above all of that, you might be the game's greatest ever goal celebrator. And I'm talking about the history of the entire game, maybe even across different codes of sport. Is that something that you have even thought about? Is it even in some sort of rehearsal, or is it just the euphoria and the pain and all of the emotion that comes out?
Yeah, I want to say it's, well, firstly, I should start by saying what an honour, by the way. This is absolutely incredible to be sitting here and having this conversation with you right now. I'm in shock and complete utter surprise and just extremely proud right now. What an amazing club we're part of. But the celebrations, no, I think they're just pure emotion, if I'm completely honest. I think I'd love to think that I'd sit there and rehearse some wild celebrations, and
they probably wouldn't be as good.
No.
If they were rehearsed. In fact, they might be a bit shit.
Yeah, I agree. I think the ones where, when you're on photo day and they're like, do the photo celebration photo, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, woo. And
be inspired. No.
I just can't do it. I can't exercise the same feeling that you can in the heat of the moment of the battle. I mean, being out there and, goals are hard to come by. And when you kick one, you want to make the most of it and celebrate it and use the energy of the crowd and the team and the people around you. And I think I get caught up in the moment a fair bit out there.
I want to put your mind at ease as best as I can to say that when I heard that you were one of the names in the 25 of this list of Bulldogs, it warmed my heart and it felt right. I was like, God damn, that's the right name to be in this list. So I mean that absolutely sincerely. And it's an honour for me to sit next to you and have a chat. And we need to go right back to the start. And it's a well-told tale now of AFLW players and the hardship to just make it to the AFLW and to play. And whilst I don't want to just drift past it because it does deserve to have some time spent on it, I was curious about your perspective on it, because you probably are in as good a position as any, I think, to talk about the two generations of, you would have played with women who were just as fanatical and enthusiastic about footy as you were, but didn't get the chance to explore it at the top level, but you also did get to. And now you see a generation of young girls coming through who don't have to even live with the doubt or the questions of can I? Do you think about those things a lot, or is it something you just got to move through?
No, I think about it a lot in the context of probably educating the girls that are coming through the system now. I think back to when I first started playing footy, and particularly women's footy in general, and the VWFL, I was playing against Debbie Lee. Yeah. She roughed me up a couple of times out there. I mean, what an incredible character she was as part of the game. She never got to play it at the highest level, did she, of AFLW? And, I think back, Lisa Hardiman and the likes, how cool would it have been to had their numbers on the back of your Guernsey growing up as youngsters. And, I was fortunate enough that I've had the experience of knowing these women and working with them in different capacities, but never taking the field with them at an AFLW level. And I feel like for players in my age group and my generation that have experienced it in both ways, I feel like there's a sense of responsibility in a way to share that knowledge and ensure that, we remember those people and take pride in what we're doing, because, what an honour and privilege it is to play the game first and foremost, but to know that we get the opportunity to do so. So there's a sense of pride that, the women before us have done what they've done, so I can run out and Whitten Oval and, play games at various venues around the country for a team that I've grown to love and become really fond of. And, and then there's the other side of it now where I'm also just so grateful that the girls coming through now are just, they've grown up with it. We've recruited 3 young girls over the last 12 months and, they weren't even teenagers as AFLW was starting. And so they've grown up coming to the games and that's all they've known. And I think back to my nephew who's now 8 and he was born just before the AFLW season started. So when he turns on the TV and sees the footy on, he's like, when's Ellie playing? He doesn't understand that, women didn't play the game once upon a time and now it's just both play. And I love that side of it now. And I love that we don't necessarily have to over-educate. And when it comes to it, it's just AFLW's here.
I meant what I said at the start, and although we were sort of having a bit of a light touch about it, but your celebrations and the celebrations of goals in the AFLW, there's something of a defiant roar about it that I think is a beautiful difference of AFLW to the men's season. What about the early days of AFLW, even before that, of the Bulldogs proudly were part of the exhibition game where we would play against Melbourne Footy Club, and you were a part of that. You would have been one of the younger ones then. But I'm curious about the whiplash of women's footy was not like more than underground. I mean, you tell me, but more than an underground competition, like is marginalised in for the most part, and then it goes from that community to then being whiplashed across to bright lights, completely celebrated, injected with like fireworks. That must have been difficult for a young woman to kind of navigate emotionally.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think back to it and initially everything just felt like, whoa, this is exciting. Whoa, this is new. Can't believe we're here. This is incredible. But, the old days of playing at Melbourne Uni and, the cold Sundays and the muddy pits of the local footy grounds that you'd play on and just, where it was just tough. It was hard footy out there and, we were just playing for ourselves and because we just loved the game. We wanted to be part of it. We just wanted to play and enjoyed it for what it is. And then all of a sudden there's almost like that sense of responsibility which we had to learn to grow with and understand a little bit more about growing the game and representing it.
I'm interested by that because, and again, you're the perfect person to talk about it. And I say this as the 43-year-old white male, but I have spent a fair bit of time in and around AFLW, and I'm an ally. I've always admired this beautiful balance of the responsibility for the past and this pioneering spirit, and also this just raw competitiveness of like, the pioneering spirit, and we're all in this together, and this beautiful message for the young girls who aren't here and coming through. Yeah. But also, when the game starts and the ball gets thrown up, it is ferocious.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you play the game the way it should be played with this beautiful level of skill and nuance, but also just this mongrel toughness. Is that how you sort of...
Yeah.
How you kind of see footy to a degree?
Oh, completely. That's probably sums it up in a nutshell for me. I think particularly being injured, I reckon I learnt that a little bit more. I've always just been out in the field and just played the game and just felt like white line fever. You cross the line and you've just got to play the game and win it and and be as competitive as you can be out there. But then sitting on the sidelines for the vast majority of last season, I was able to take it in a little bit more and take in my surroundings a little bit more. And
does it elevate the appreciation for just the pure game? Forget the pioneering spirit and what it means for kids. Like, now put all that aside, having the game taken away for a little while sort of elevates its value?
Yeah. And I think an element of both. I think the responsibility of the kids around you. I think the amount of times I had a little girl come up to me and be like, hope your injury's going well, can't wait to see you back out there. And
so it's never far away from...
It was just like, oh gosh, like look what we're doing to these young kids. They're coming in, they've got, the paint on their faces, the scarves around their neck, the flags in their hands, and they're just proudly coming to watch footy. So, you have that responsibility to be a good role model for those kids coming through. But for me, it was also like, geez, I just can't wait to get back out there. I can't wait to play this game because I love it so much. And I probably reflected on it in the sense of I put myself in the 8-year-old kid's shoe, and I was like, I love watching the game, and all I wanted to do was grow up and play the game. And
it's a good little reset for you as well.
Completely, and it made me realise, or not necessarily realise, but remember, why I'm here and why I get to do what I do and why I love it so much. And it's all the elements to it. It's the pride and the pioneering and the responsibility of being a role model, but it's also, we're playing a competitive sport, Bob. Well, I want to go out and win every time I step out onto that field. I want to hold the cup up and have a medal around my neck at the end of the season. I want our team to have that, and I want our club to have that success. So every opportunity I get to be part of that, I'm gonna put my best foot forward.
Well, you're a Bulldogs champion and you're a humble Bulldogs champion, but the early days of the AFLW, how important was it to have the best players pitted against each other and that elevation of, I suppose, performance in the best possible way of, athletes have an ego and there's always a bit of a hierarchy, and you put the best of the best together. Was there a little bit of that, okay, see where you're at, and do you think it elevated women's footy?
I think so. I reckon that of all the exhibition games, I reckon the last one was the most important one. I think, we had moments where we played games on the G and at Marvel Stadium, and, we did it before the men's games, before the Melbourne Bulldogs men's games, and, it was nice to play there, and it was a great opportunity. Don't get me wrong, I, remember those moments quite fondly, and being able to kick a goal in the MCG, I mean, how cool is that? No, it doesn't, not at all. But I reckon the most important one for us was that one in 2016 at Whitten Oval. It was, we were the game. People were walking into Whitten Oval to watch our game and watch the best women's footballers in the country play against each other. So, it was onus on us to make sure we put together a good spectacle. And, there was that competitive balance that, you're playing against players that you'd played against anyway. But you're also playing against teammates as well. So it was that sense of, I can't wait to beat some of my teammates right now that I've played against, junior footy or local footy with. And so you almost wanted to beat them as well. So I think it was so many different elements put into it. But I think the fact that was a standalone game, it was so well highlighted, and it displayed, the top end talent of women's footy, and I think it was so special to be part of. And I reckon it helped us grow AFLW in such an important way in those early days.
I suppose on the surface of it, if you were just a bit blasé in my position of AFLW is relatively new, the competition's just starting, you're a young, prodigious talent, but still, got a long career ahead of you, and within a few years, you become the team's best player and you win a premiership. But I suspect that for someone like you, who's not just you, but the entire Blackburn clan joined the club and the club joined your family. Those two things are very intertwined.
Yeah.
How special was it to bring that premiership to the Bulldogs family?
Oh, it's, reflecting on it now, and I mean, it was so important to us and to me personally. I think, the way that the club wrapped their arms around me, to be completely honest, like I look back on those exhibition games, and I was with Melbourne for the vast majority of it.
I left that out of the question.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a sour point for some of us. Edit that out.
Well, I was almost a little bit like, stuff you to them, like, why wasn't I worthy of a spot on your list in a way? But the Bulldogs, they took me in. The club took me in. They wrapped their arms around me, and not only me but my family. I remember the first moment my mum met Chris Grant, and just like,
It's a big moment for all of us.
Yeah, honestly, and me too. And it was like, Mum was just like, gosh, what a beautiful man. And just, he remembered my name, and it was those little moments, right, that we were brought into what was going to be known as, you know, a community club, a family club in a way. And to be able to be part of a premiership, particularly early on, and to have so many important people to be there on that day and to be part of it on that day. I mean, how special is that? And early on in AFLW as well, I think like the year before that we won the flag, we were pretty terrible. We won 2 games and, you know, if we didn't win the last one, we were wooden spooners. And so then to bounce back a year later and just know that, like, we changed our ways a little bit, and I really enjoy that was part of what we were doing there, and part of the success we were able to achieve at the end of the season.
Footballers are generally a self-deprecating bunch. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that the life of an elite footballer, I think they think there's just pretty much adulation showered upon you, when in reality it's an industry of criticism. Like, it's just constantly being critiqued. But there's a photo of you, and I'm just looking at it now, of the premiership being won. You've got the medal around your neck and the streamers are billowing in, the red, white and blue. Can you actually separate yourself from that photo? Because it's one of the great photos in football, but it just happens to be of you. When you look at that photo, how does that make you feel? Because for me, it's art. Like, that should be in the gallery. You know, there's some that deserve to be in the locker room or in the lounge room, but that one deserves to be in the Louvre.
Thank you. To be honest, if I reflect back on that moment, I remember standing with Brooke Lachlan. I reckon we were in the middle of the field and, you know, all the Oz kickers were playing in the streamers. And I thought, geez, that looks fun. I was like,
says it's a child's game.
Honestly, I was just like, we've just won a flag. We can do whatever we want right now out on this field. This is our moment. We've got to make the most of it. And in that moment, Brooke and I, we went and grabbed the streamers and we're like, let's go have some fun with this. And so we wrapped it around ourselves and then we just had a moment where we got close to the boundary and there was quite a few family and friends sort of nearby. And I was like, this just feels like a special moment. I'm just going to throw them up in the air and see what comes of it. And that's what came from that moment. I just threw it up and looked up in the air and thought, this feels special right now. This feels like quite a significant moment in my life, but also quite a significant moment in what I'm going to learn to become is so important in the club's history as well.
I think an acknowledgement and an inclusion to this level of a history that goes back more than 100 years, it's kind of too much for anyone to comprehend. But I think for a player who's still in it, it must be a lot to kind of comprehend. But you've accomplished just about all there is to accomplish in the game. What keeps you going? What keeps the fire burning?
I just love it. I love the game. But I love the moments and like from a personal level, like being able to play the game. But then people. It's the people, right?
Yeah.
That's why you
So
do
much
what
of
you
it
do.
There's the game and then there's the stuff around the game.
Yeah, like walking out to battle each week and being able to actually play the game I enjoy it so much. I love playing footy. Like, how fun is it? A 360-degree game where you can attempt to jump high, kick goals, tackle, just have sheer brilliance and moments of like gut-wrenching and hardship out there, and like it gives you all the emotions in the world, but then you step off the field and you're like, I know you. Like, I know so many incredible people, whether they're a player who's been part of our men's team, our women's team, a coach, a person as part of the club, the fans, you think of the Irenes of the world. It's like I've got to know all these incredible people as a result of the game, and I think for me that's what keeps me in it, wants me to stay in it for a long period of time and do everything I can to ensure I'm out there, because I love the people.
this is your moment and you richly deserve it, but I will insert myself just because,
Go on.
you know, it's a narcissist.
Of course you have
But
to.
I was...
You're the white male.
Well, like, exactly, as the resident middle-aged white male, contractually obliged
You have to.
go, well, I'll tell you a story about... But I was the runner for the Bulldogs W team for a few years, and, of course, you were captain, and I remember, I think I grabbed your mum and dad after a game one day, and I don't know if they ever passed this on, but I just said, I just got to tell you that Ellie's one of the best captains I've ever witnessed in football. For the things that you were able to do off the field, the way you could make people feel important and grab a whole room of people from all backgrounds with different roles and different stresses in life and bring them all together to simplify things and talk about matters from the football heart, I think is a very rare gift that you have. And you're able to balance it out with being the best player that this club has ever produced in the AFLW by some margin. And I was sort of curious as to, was that a struggle for you to find that balance of leadership and being captain, which is not always easy, and exploring your potential and ability as a player?
Yeah, I think to a certain degree it was. I reckon in the early couple of years I was probably well supported with Katie being in there, and she was the captain to start off with, and it probably allowed me to find my feet as a player a little bit more in the AFLW. And I reckon the difference I probably have then in comparison to what some of the males might have is that, and players and women's players coming into the game now, is that like we were all new into the game of AFLW then. It wasn't like, you know, the game had been around, or AFLW had been around 10 years prior to me actually entering the game. So it felt like you were able to almost transfer from being, you know, the local footy player into AFLW player because you were playing with the same crop of talent. So it felt like it was almost an easier transition in terms of like a playing ability. You know, you obviously had to step it up a notch and find the professional standards a little bit more in AFLW in comparison to local footy. But it was probably the leadership side I reckon I had to learn a little bit more about, and a little bit more about myself to be a better leader. I think there was at times where, you know, I saw Katie do certain things and thought I probably had to do something similar. And then it wasn't until...
Well, some of it, but then what's your take on it?
Yeah. And I don't know if I had the balance right to start off with in terms of what is my take on it. I almost became a person, not entirely like just agreeing with someone, but almost always agreeing with someone, and had to make a decision on my own. And then just realise what I brought to the table was good enough as a leader. And I think I always tried to reflect on and the way I evolved, particularly I reckon in that second season for us, was just about enjoying it and having fun. And I reckon that's when I lead best and when I play my best footy, is when I'm a bit more relaxed and just myself. And yeah, finding the balance of it over the years, it's been tough and challenging. You know, you have tough seasons and you have good seasons, and, you know, finding the balance of being a good leader and a good player, and, you know, sort of what takes precedence at times. You know, when you're out in the field, it's like you've got to try and play your best footy, but, you know, your team's struggling, so you've also got to be the best leader out there. So it's hard at times, and that's when you've got to lean on the support networks around you and the other leaders out there. But yeah, I mean, over time, I feel like I've got a good balance of it and been able to enjoy all the parts and that it comes with being a good player and being a good leader.
I said it at the start, and it's worth saying again that your place amongst the 25 players of the Bulldogs history that goes back, as I said, over 100 years is assured, and you sit so comfortably in it. There'll be a photo on the night, and you're going to have to put up with a lot of the middle-aged, maybe even some elderly fellas. But we need you around. And something that sort of has emerged for me over time, watching you at first as a player, then as a leader, and then sort of from afar in more recent times, is a bit of that goal celebration thing of there's something incredibly sincere about the way you play, but the way you carry yourself. And I think you've sort of explained it there around the captaincy thing, around absorbing things for a while, but you can ever only be yourself. And I think that's your greatest strength. And that's saying something, because your strengths as a player are many and varied. You're a complete player, which is a very rare thing in this world. But I think in terms of our footy club, like, you have been a pioneer, and you've been a pioneer for young girls, for women who went before you, and for our club more broadly. You make our club better. And I think of the future, and I'd love to hear you have a thought on it, but you being yourself and bringing a genuine authenticity, which is a bit of a buzzword, but you do bring something that's more soulful than that. And I think, and I hope that shapes our footy club long after you've retired, although you've still got a lot of good footy left in you.
Don't retire me early.
It's an honour. It's an honour to sit in your company. I love watching you play. I love listening to you talk about this footy club, and we're all the better for having you not just in the list of 25, but in our colours of the red, white and blue. And I want to congratulate you and tell you that I love you and I admire you.
Thank you. I have lots of love for you, my friend.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.